would you do if the woman you loved turned your home into hers and then handed your bed to her friends? When Lily told me, they'll move in rent-free and you can sleep on the couch, I smiled and said, okay. Then I quietly changed the locks. What happened next? Let's just say, brunch ended with a bang. Let's start with the truth. The house was mine. Gifted to me by my grandparents, it wasn't fancy, but it was solid. 3 bedrooms, mortgage-free, and full of quiet memories. I kept it running, taxes, insurance, utilities, all on me. When Lily, my girlfriend, moved in, I didn't ask for rent. I loved her. And love, I thought, didn't need contracts. She paid for her phone, her car, and half the groceries, and that was enough. For a while. I believed we were building something real, something lasting. But it turns out I was the one laying bricks while she was sketching blueprints for a life that didn't have me in it. It happened over coffee, of all things. The sun had barely risen when Lily waltzed into the kitchen, scrolling her phone like it held the morning news. I was still groggy, focused on the slow drip of the coffee maker, when she said it, so casually, so offhand you'd think she was talking about weekend brunch. Hey, so good news, Emma and Susan are moving in. I stopped pouring midstream, the coffee sloshing dangerously close to the rim. I turned toward her. Surely I misheard. Her 2 best friends, Emma, the loud one who never closed a cupboard, and Susan, the chain talker with 0 boundaries, were moving in? Moving in? I repeated. She didn't blink. Yeah. Their lease is up and it's perfect timing. I told them they could take the 2 spare rooms. It was like I'd walked into a play I never auditioned for. Lily had already written the script, cast the characters, and assigned me the role of background furniture. I blinked once. Lily, you didn't even ask me. Now she looked up from her screen, with that sigh she used when she thought I was being difficult. She put the phone down and gave me that sweet, patronizing smile. Babe, don't be like that. We've got the space. And they're my best friends. They're family. They're not my family, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. And this is my house. You know that, right? Her eyes slid right past that statement, as if it didn't matter. It's just temporary. They're getting back on their feet. And rent-free, of course. Rent-free, of course. The only sound in the kitchen was the last sputter of the coffee maker. I stared at the dark liquid swirling in my mug, trying to swallow the rising anger like it was bitter grounds. Where are we supposed to sleep? I asked, already dreading the answer. Well, she said brightly, Emma and Susan need the master bedroom. There are 2 of them and it has a big bathroom. I waited, silent. So we'll take the 2 smaller rooms. Actually, she paused, eyes narrowing as she gave me a once-over. You're barely in your room anyway. You can just crash on the couch. It's comfy. The words hit me like a slap. You can just sleep on the couch? In my own home. The home my grandparents left me. The one I mow, repair, and pay taxes on. The place I once imagined growing old in with the woman I loved. She had demoted me to a guest in my own house. My voice was quiet when I spoke, but it carried more weight than I expected. You think that's fair? That you can make this decision without me? She shrugged. You always say you want me to feel at home. This is my home too. But it wasn't. Not really. She had contributed nothing beyond her presence. No rent, no utilities, not even shared responsibility. Just the occasional grocery bill and a cheerful assumption that love meant never needing to discuss boundaries. Now she was rearranging my life to fit hers and making it clear that I came last. That moment in the kitchen when I realized she didn't see me as a partner but a placeholder, that was the shift. That was when the heat in my chest settled into something colder, heavier, more permanent. She sipped her coffee like nothing had happened, like it was just another Wednesday. I excused myself without another word, but inside, I was already packing boxes in my mind, not mine, hers. Because this wasn't just inconsiderate, it was betrayal, plain and simple. And if she thought I was going to lie down on the couch like a good little doormat while she played landlord with my inheritance, she was about to be very, very wrong. There wasn't a single scream, no plates shattered, no doors slammed. Just the quiet hush of a soul giving up on the illusion of being seen. That was the moment it all changed. Not with fury, but with stillness. Lily had drawn the line with a smile, and I crossed it without saying a word. When she told me I'd be sleeping on the couch so her friends could take over my home, I didn't raise my voice, I didn't plead or protest. I just looked at her, and in that still, coffee-scented morning, something in me settled like dust after a long storm. I realized I'd spent the past year loving a person who saw my generosity as default, not devotion. I smiled, softly, warmly. Okay, I said. Her entire face lit up. "Oh my God, babe, really? I knew you'd understand. This is gonna be so fun, like a never-ending sleepover." She kissed my cheek like nothing had changed, like everything hadn't, and breezed out the front door, heading to brunch with the girls to share the good news. I watched her car pull away from the driveway, that same car I'd taken in for service more times than I could count, and as her taillights disappeared, I turned away from the window with a sense of calm I hadn't felt in months. My first call was to a 24-hour locksmith. I need the entire house rekeyed, urgently. My second call was to a moving service. Yes, I need someone to pack up a tenant's belongings and place them in a storage unit. I'll cover 3 months up front. The man on the line didn't ask questions, just gave me a price and arrival time. While I waited, I started gathering Lily's things. Not with malice, but with precision. Her designer lotions and half-used candles from the bathroom, her skincare regimen that somehow took up more space than the actual plumbing. I pulled every one of her clothes from the closet, folded them neatly, her laptop, her coffee mugs with snarky quotes, even the photo frames with us at the beach. I packed it all, not out of spite but closure. The locksmith arrived within 30 minutes. As he changed out the locks, front, back, and side doors, I continued the quiet exodus of Lily from my space, piece by scented piece. By the time the packers came, the house had already begun to feel mine again. They worked quickly, professionally, not knowing they were unspooling a chapter of my life that I no longer wanted to reread. They even boxed up the throw pillows she'd insisted made the couch pop. The irony wasn't lost on me. By 2:00 p.m. there was no sign of Lily left inside those walls. No trace of her perfume in the air, no lipstick-stained wine glasses on the counter. Just silence, and a surprisingly deep sense of relief. I took the storage unit receipt and the key, tucked them into a clear baggie, and taped them right on the front door, over the handle, visible. I wasn't hiding what I'd done, I was offering her a clean exit. Then, I cleaned. Every room, vacuumed under couches, wiped down countertops, and opened windows. The house exhaled. It was the first time in months I'd heard its silence without tension. No stomping feet upstairs, no tick-tocks blaring from the bathroom. Just peace. I waited. I knew the storm was coming, but I wasn't afraid. Because this wasn't just a reaction. It was the culmination of every quiet moment I'd swallowed, every sidestep I'd taken to avoid confrontation, every time I told myself that love was supposed to mean sacrifice, even when I was the only one doing the sacrificing. No more speeches, no angry texts, no 10-part arguments about how I made her feel. Just a house with new locks, a baggie on the door, and a man who finally understood that being kind does not mean being walked over. She'd made her choice. And so had I. It began the way most reckonings do. Not with thunder, but with a knock that never landed, a door that would not open, a key that no longer turned. At 4:00 p.m. sharp, Lily's first text popped up. I could almost hear her voice, chipper and oblivious. "Hey, the key isn't working. Did you lock the deadbolt from the inside?" I didn't answer. I simply let the silence settle. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed again. Voicemail. I didn't need to listen to know the tone. Impatient, incredulous, maybe even a little offended. "Liam, I'm outside with Emma and Susan. We've got a car full of stuff. What's wrong with the door? Call me back." The texts kept coming. "Liam, this isn't funny. Open the door." My phone's about to die. "Where are you? The girls are getting pissed. We're supposed to be moving in today." They weren't knocking. They were demanding entrance to a kingdom they never built, entitled to a throne they never earned. Then the phone calls started. Emma, Susan, unknown numbers, probably burner phones or friends trying to guilt me into compliance. I didn't answer any of them. By 6:00 p.m., the tone had shifted from irritation to desperation. "What did you do? There's a U-Haul receipt taped to the door. A storage unit? Are you kidding me?" That was when the real fireworks began. My phone turned into a siren, lighting up with call after call, message after message. I turned it face down, poured myself a drink, and sat on my own couch, quiet, peaceful, for the first time in weeks. I read a book. I took a long shower. I reclaimed my home, 1 minute at a time. By morning, my notifications were biblical. 50 missed calls, dozens of texts. The chaos was symphonic. Apparently, after realizing the door wouldn't open and their royal caravan had no destination, they'd driven the U-Haul back to the apartment they had already vacated. With no keys and no landlord willing to let them back in, they spent the night sleeping in the truck. 3 grown women in a queen-size mistake. By afternoon, curiosity got the better of me. I picked up one of Lily's calls. "Eliam, you psychopath," she screamed so loud I had to hold the phone away. "You threw me out. You threw all my things out." I stayed calm. I didn't throw anything out. Your belongings are in a climate-controlled storage unit. I paid for 3 months in advance. The key and address were taped to the door. You can't just kick me out. We live together, you know. No, I replied. I live here. You were a guest. A guest who tried to move in 2 other people and demoted the homeowner to the couch. I declined your terms. There was shuffling, and then a new voice burst through, Emma, predictably. Listen, you little prick, you can't do this to her. We have rights. What rights are those? I asked, genuinely curious. The right to live rent-free in my home? That's not how rights work. We're gonna sue you. This is a legal eviction. Great, I said. Tell your lawyer that your friend, whose name is on no lease, who paid no rent and made a unilateral decision to move people into my property, was removed after trying to forcibly rearrange the living situation. Let me know how that goes. I could hear Susan in the background now shrieking something about me being a toxic man-baby. It was like a Greek chorus of entitlement and bad decisions. Lily came back on, this time in tears. I can't believe you did this to me, she sobbed. I have nowhere to go. My friends have nowhere to go. You're making us homeless. That sounds like a problem for the 3 of you, I said. You made the decision together. I'm sure you'll figure it out. Like you figured out that I should sleep on my own couch. But Liam, I love you. No, Lily, you love what I provide. There's a difference. There was silence. Real silence. The kind that sinks in when someone realizes their story isn't being accepted anymore. You didn't ask how I felt. You never once thought I might say no. You just assumed I'd roll over and let you steamroll me. You miscalculated. And then I hung up. She called back dozens more times. I didn't answer. Mutual friends started messaging me wanting to hear my side. I sent a screenshot. Just one. It was Lily's text. Emma and Susan are moving in. You can sleep on the couch. That was all I needed to say. Some of them never replied. Others responded with awkward emojis or vague acknowledgments. The tide had turned, not necessarily in my favor, but in reality's favor. In the days that followed, the noise faded. There were no lawsuits, no dramatic shows of protest, just the quiet unraveling of someone who overplayed their hand. And me? I went back to sipping coffee in my kitchen, sleeping in my bed, and walking through a house that finally felt like mine again. That was the true climax, not the screaming, not the U-Haul fiasco, not even the furious voicemails. It was the silence after. The peace that came not from revenge, but from boundaries, clearly drawn and fiercely upheld. There's a kind of quiet that settles in after a storm. Not just silence, but that eerie, echoing stillness where even your breath feels too loud. That's what my house felt like after the girls were gone. It wasn't happiness, not yet. It was a fragile, breath-held peace. But that peace came with clarity. The kind of clarity that only shows up when you finally stopped explaining yourself to people who never cared to understand. Lily, Emma, and Susan, 3 women who had reduced me to a convenient placeholder, a roof over their heads, a wallet with a name, had finally crossed a line they couldn't walk back from. They tried to bulldoze their way into my life, then paint themselves as the victims when I refused to play along. But I wasn't the same man they thought they knew, not anymore. They underestimate just how deep the roots of justice grow when someone has been pushed too far. 3 days after the last of Lily's things had been packed and shipped to storage, my doorbell rang. I didn't even need to check the camera to know it was them. But I did anyway, because sometimes watching people who wronged you show up with their rehearsed regrets is its kind of therapy. Lily stood front and center, her eyes red and watery, like she'd practiced her sorrow in a mirror. Behind her stood Emma and Susan, their faces stone-cold and tight, like backup singers for a lead act who lost the plot. I didn't open the door. I spoke through the intercom. Can I help you? Liam, please, Lily sniffled. We just want to talk. I need to get my grandmother's locket. It's not in storage. I think you might have taken it. Classic deflection. Accuse the person you hurt of hurting you. I'd seen this tactic before. But I wasn't playing along. I didn't touch your jewelry. The packers documented everything, Lily. The locket's likely tucked in the same vanity drawer where you left it. You just didn't bother checking the inventory list I gave you. Emma jumped in then. Just open the door, you coward. Let her check. I'm not opening the door. This is my house. You're not welcome here. That's when Susan lost it. She rattled the handle, kicked the bottom of the door, and screamed, "We'll call the cops. You're holding her things hostage." I laughed. Please do. I'd love to explain this to them. They left, fuming, but not before Susan scuffed my front door with her boot. Petty. Predictable. The next day, the cops did show up. 2 officers who looked more tired than concerned. Said someone had filed a welfare check, claiming I was mentally unstable after a bad breakup and possibly a danger to myself. He offered them coffee. Then I showed them the receipts, the texts from Lily, the video footage of the 3 women screaming at my door, and the police report I'd already filed for the door damage. The officers were polite, almost apologetic. One muttered under his breath, "So she tried to move in 2 friends and evict you from your own house, and now you're the unstable one. Got it." They left soon after. And I realized these women hadn't just wanted a place to live. They wanted to destroy my name, my peace, and maybe my sanity. But they forgot one thing. When you try to set someone on fire, you better make sure they don't have a fire hose of receipts. That night, I began my final act. I wasn't going to shout. I wasn't going to fight dirty. I was going to do what they feared most. I was going to tell the truth. Lily worked in marketing at a progressive tech company that boasted about transparency and community trust. Her LinkedIn was a buzzword buffet, empowering brand storytelling, authenticity in the digital age, values-led leadership. I read those lines while sipping tea and quietly began building a file. Screenshots of her messages about moving in with her friends and demoting me to the couch. Photos of their social media campaign against me. Vague but obvious posts calling me abusive, unhinged, and manipulative. The tear-streaked selfie Susan posted with the caption, "Heartbroken, pray for my girl." The Instagram post from Emma calling me a toxic narcissist. None of them used my name, but in a friend circle as small as ours, that didn't matter. I included the police report, the video of Susan kicking my door, the texts from mutual friends checking in after reading their posts. I sent it all in a polite, concise email to Lily's HR department. "Dear Sir or Madam, I am writing with concern regarding the online conduct of one of your employees. I didn't ask for her to be fired. I didn't demand compensation. I simply said, given the values your company upholds, I thought you might want to be aware." It wasn't revenge, it was accountability. Then I moved on to Emma and Susan. Emma's old apartment building was managed by a company I tracked down through some digital breadcrumbs. Turns out she'd tagged them in a few of her influencer posts. I sent them a similar email, with evidence of their attempt to squat in my home, screenshots of their plans, and that lovely video of Susan vandalizing my property. As for Susan, the aspiring influencer, she'd tagged no fewer than 15 brands in her emotional support posts. I contacted 5, 3 of which I knew had strict brand reputation policies. One responded, a boutique skincare company. They said they'd take her feedback seriously. A few days later, she was blocked from their page. A week after that, she went private on all platforms. And Lily? 3 weeks after my email, she was put on leave. A month later, she was fired. Breach of company social media conduct, they said. Emma posted a cryptic tweet about how landlords are evil. I heard through the grapevine that she and Susan were struggling to find a new place. They'd been unofficially blacklisted by several property managers in the area. The dominoes had fallen. And me? I bought a new couch, painted the guest room, turned the second spare bedroom into a gym. My house feels different now, not just quieter, but warmer. It breathes again. Lily did try one last time, a long email, half apology, half attack. I read it once, filed it under Lily Chronicles, and archived it. It's been months. I don't feel triumphant. I feel steady, like I weathered the storm and came out still standing. I'm not broken. I'm not bitter. I'm just done. They tried to rewrite the story with me as the villain, but all I did was hold up a mirror. And when people saw the reflection, they made their conclusions. This wasn't about revenge. This was about boundaries and justice. Justice is finally being able to drink your coffee in a quiet house, without ghosts whispering entitlement from the hallway. And that, my friends, is a justice I can live with. If this story struck a chord with you, if you've ever felt dismissed in your own home or been blindsided by someone you trusted, don't let it end here. Hit that like button to show your support, subscribe to the channel so you never miss another story that tells the truth we often keep quiet, and drop a comment below. Have you ever had to reclaim your space, your peace, like Liam did? We want to hear your story. Your voice matters. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.